What's going on, guys? Welcome back to #AskGSM episode 488 for Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. I literally just got off the plane late last night from Los Angeles, back in Connecticut. Home sweet home, first time home in literally 9 days, as Tony Khan would say, since last Monday, 9 days ago. So it's been crazy, a very awesome week, very fun week, a very busy, exhausting week. So obviously, while I was away, I had literally no time to record anything. I did record #AskGSM while I was away. Obviously, we usually put up the shows on Wednesdays. So what happened was basically the episode that is probably already up by now, I'll make sure it goes up before this one. You guys sent in the questions for those last Tuesday. I was already away at that point, but I was planning to record at some point on Wednesday before we left for Disney, or on Thursday when I had some free time. The problem with the week, while I was away, I was either out doing events, traveling, or sleeping. I didn't really have much time to do much else beyond the usual work stuff. So I had to record it on Saturday before hashtag, and then I was going to upload it at the arena at WrestleMania, have it all, nice and ready right before WrestleMania started. I got busy. I had to go see people, do some other stuff, so I never had a chance. And the Wi-Fi in pretty much every place I went to, except for SoFi Stadium at WrestleMania, was fucking terrible. At the airport, it was awful. At various arenas, it was awful. At the hotel, it was awful. So I'm glad I'm home now, able to upload stuff as normal. Everything will be up at some point. Well, maybe not everything. So I'm uploading hashtag from last week. I have this one up. We should be back to a regular schedule, hopefully, going forward. I have not been able to upload in over a week. Like, I took live reaction videos at Mania. My phone has no memory, so no storage, so I couldn't take them. Alexis had to take them on her phone. I can't upload them to the YouTube account from her phone without logging in. I forgot that stuff, so it's extremely difficult right now. Everything hopefully will be up at some point. It will take time. I have interviews I still have to publish, a lot of interviews. It's going to take me a long time to catch up with everything, but just give me time. But I appreciate you guys sending in questions regardless to the show. We should be back on a regular schedule with this show, answering your questions every single week on Twitter, from Twitter, at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not in the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section in this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So we'll start with the two YouTube, or rather, no YouTube questions, because there was no video from last week, obviously. Noel from Facebook has two questions. First one being, thoughts on both WrestleMania nights? In a nutshell, and we'll do a full on-set report from WrestleMania on WrestleRant Radio this week. I enjoyed the event overall. I thought WrestleMania overall was a great show. Night 2 was significantly weaker than Night 1. Night 2 had a lot of questionable booking decisions. Like, I can get over Gunther beating Sheamus and Drew. I really wanted Sheamus to win the championship, but whatever. The match was awesome. That happened. The main event was amazing. Despite my gripes with the outcome of Roman Reigns winning and how they went about it, which I thought was fucking lazy, and I'll get to that either here today or another time, I'm not sure. But despite that, the match itself, you can't... The problem is that it's hard to go back and watch it knowing what the outcome is, and it's not what you wanted. Like, it was a very depressing finish. So it's hard to kind of go back and watch stuff like that. It kind of hurts the replay value because you know how you felt in that moment when Roman Reigns won. But the match itself, prior to the finish, was outstanding. I thought it was a great match. The Hell in the Cell match I thought was good, a bit underwhelming, not exactly what I thought it would be. The finish was not what I wanted it to be. Bianca and Asuka also had a really good match. So overall, I thought WrestleMania was a great show. Night 1 was amazing. Night 1 was fantastic. Ray Dominic, Logan Paul, Seth Rollins. Cena, in theory, was the weakest match of the show by far, but even that was fine. The second to last match, Charlotte and Rhea, excellent match. The main event, excellent match. KO and Sammy beating the Usos for the tag team titles. Amazingly well done. I thought WrestleMania was a really, really good show, despite my gripes with a few things they did on Night 2. The Shane McMahon bullshit, get the fuck out of here. I thought it was a great WrestleMania. Their next question is, who should be the one to beat Roman now? My answer remains Cody Rhodes, but as I've said time and time again, and again, I'll go into greater detail about this probably on WrestleRant Radio tomorrow with RJ, I still think it should be Cody Rhodes, but as I've said for months now, If they beat Cody at Mania and they want him to beat Roman instead at SummerSlam or at WrestleMania next year, it's not going to mean as much. And maybe it will. I'm not Nostradamus. I mean, I can't predict the future 100%. In my opinion, they had to strike when the iron was hot with Cody, at its hottest, rather. Not to say he won't be over by SummerSlam or Mania, but there's a greater chance people boo him by then because he's still in the main event. People will feel like he's been shoved down their throats. There's a difference between Cody winning the championship and being at that level because he belongs at that level, as opposed to losing at Mania and then losing to Brock, which could and very well likely happen to the next show or in Saudi Arabia, whatever. And then he's still getting main event opportunities. People will not like that. People will be very fickle. Can you blame the fans? Yeah, I honestly would have blamed the fans more if Cody won at WrestleMania and they booed him anyway, because there's no reason to boo Cody Rhodes. If he goes forward, continues to lose, and still gets main event opportunities and wins the championship when the time isn't right, maybe someone comes along that's hotter than him, then he will get booed. And then the company should be blamed for that. The booking team, Triple H, Vince, whatever, and not the fans, because they have every reason to reject that. And then we're left in a Roman Reigns 2.0 situation, not in a current Roman Reigns, but Roman Reigns circa 5-10 years ago, where the fans reject it. And they're not happy with it. Because, like, remember Drew McIntyre, when he won and lost the championship a few times a few years ago, he was getting booed a little bit in 2021. People weren't happy with him because he kept getting championship opportunities. He kept losing, but he was still in the championship picture. And I was fine with it because it made sense, but I could see why people get sick of seeing the same person in that spot after a year plus. And that could happen with Cody Rhodes in due time. I don't want that to be the case, but I still think it will be Cody Rhodes beating Roman Reigns for that championship. Other than him, as we've said before, and I've even talked to people that were happy that Roman Reigns won, who said, I don't know who you beat Roman Reigns. Yeah, who do you have beat Roman Reigns now? Well, that's the fucking question. It should have been Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. It should have been Cody Rhodes. And it probably will still be Cody Rhodes. The problem is that if you have it be Cody Rhodes down the road, it will not mean as much. It will not be Braun Breaker. It won't be AJ Styles. It won't be Bobby Lashley. It shouldn't be Seth Rollins or Randy Orton. It has to be Cody Rhodes. He makes the most sense. He checks all the boxes. And it didn't do it. They didn't strike when the iron was at its hottest. And they very well may have dropped the ball in creating a massively over babyface in the process. Will Cody Rhodes still be over and get a good reaction when he wins the championship ultimately? Sure. Will it mean as much or feel as special or feel as magical even if they do it at SummerSlam or WrestleMania next year? In my opinion, no. We go to the Twitter questions next. At Ewagu91, your thoughts on Adam Cole now as a babyface. I'm fine with that. I mean, obviously he's a natural heel. We got a little bit of Adam Cole babyface Adam Cole in NXT before he turned on Undisputed Era in early 2021. There was a stretch in 2020, late 2020, early 2021 when he was a babyface, and he worked really well in that spot. There were some fans in the arena. Obviously, at that point, it wasn't a completely dead crowd, but he was getting great reactions. I actually like Adam Cole as a babyface, maybe not more than he was a heel. He is a very great heel, obviously. But still, I think he in that role works very well. It's the right role to put him in right now. People want to cheer him coming off of his injury. Will he turn heel again down the road? Absolutely. But with Britt Baker, his girlfriend, also being a babyface right now, seemingly, it just makes sense. He's the face of this new all-access show, seemingly. I haven't seen the first episode. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I just have no fucking time. But maybe I'll check out the first one. Won't watch the rest. I don't know. But he works well in that role. I honestly have yet to watch the match with Garcia from last week. I got through 3/4 of Dynamite last week on Thursday or Friday and then couldn't finish it. Not because I didn't want to, I just didn't have time. And Dynamite's on tonight, so I probably should go back and finish that. But it's the right role for him right now, and I think at some point he will make a great challenger to MJF's AEW World Championship. Their second question, what match do you think stole WrestleMania 39 as a whole? That's a great question because there were a lot of great matches. I can't say far and away the best match of night 2 was the Intercontinental title match because that main event was amazing. It might be night 1 main event. It might be the tag team title match. And now if you say Rhea and Charlotte, I would also not argue with that because they had an excellent match as well. Rey and Dominic was also a lot of fun. That was pure perfection from start to finish, from the entrances, the aftermath, the match itself. I mean, there honestly are a lot of potential answers. And I thought Rollins and Logan Paul would have the best match of the weekend. They were probably 4th or 5th down the list. And they had a great match even. So, I would probably say the tag team title match of night 1. Just the pure storytelling aspect of it, the execution of it, how long it was in the making for and in the works for and whatever. That to me was what stole the weekend, especially how they closed out such a great night of wrestling. Their next question, when do you think we'll finally have Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega face off again? I mean, we can get into their match. I mean, that was one of the parts of Dynamite I did see last week, Danielson turning heel. One of the bright spots of getting a Blackpool Combat Club Elite feud is that we could get Danielson and Omega again, because we never got that rematch after their initial match at Danielson's first AEW match back in September of 2021 at Grand Slam. I think we could see it soon. I don't know if I would give it away on a Dynamite. I guess they could. I don't see them doing it at Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing is late next month. I see them doing the Blackpool Combat Club Elite match on that show. I mean, I guess they could do it on Dynamite, a special Dynamite. I would save that for maybe when the Elite Blackpool Combat Club stuff is over. Roles reversed, Kenny Omega the babyface, Bryan Danielson the heel. Maybe do it at Forbidden Door or All Out even. I don't know. But at some point we will get that match and it will be glorious. Next question. Let's see. At Kyle Rochelle 19. Will Raquel Rodriguez be Rhea Ripley's first opponent? Now that Rhea is champion, can the women's division on SmackDown start to get better? I hope so. I think Rhea is a perfect person to build around. I like Charlotte a lot. The problem with the Charlotte run on SmackDown was that she just wasn't very interesting as a babyface champion, and there weren't any interesting heels to pair her up against. Her and Lacey Evans, who gives a shit? I mean, not that we saw that, but if we got that, who cares? Her and Sonya Deville when we got that feud. I like Sonya. Sonya's not a threat. Who gave a shit about that feud, you know? There's not a lot of real heels on that show for her to be paired up against, aside from her and Ronda, which I did not want to see again. So Rhea can work with all the baby faces on that show. Rhea and Liv have had a lot of matches, but they work very well together. You can build up Liv for a believable one-off title match. I think Rhea should get a long reign. I know we've had a lot of long reigns. Bianca's been champion for a year. Gunther's been champion for almost a year. Roman Reigns has been champion for fucking 2.5 years and counting. I get it, but Rhea should not drop that championship anytime soon because there's so many people for her to work with. Her and Liv Morgan. I do think her and Raquel should be the first feud. They teased it on Monday's Raw. They have history. They got chemistry. It just makes sense. Honestly, I think the first opponent should be, in my opinion, Beth Phoenix. Beth Phoenix was the only person to have beaten Rhea Ripley in recent memory. Now, she didn't pin her, I don't think. I think Edge pinned Balor, but in that tag team match at Elimination Chamber, Beth and Edge beat Rhea and Finn. And I thought that it's still a dumb decision in retrospect because Edge ended up beating Balor at Mania anyway, which is bizarre. I mean, I guess it makes sense with the story. Oh, he beat the Judgment Day. Balor needed to win more, but whatever. Beth was like one of the last people to have not pinned Rhea but beaten her in any sort of match. I would have Rhea Ripley face Beth, and I would do that at Backlash. If not at could they do that in Saudi Arabia? I mean, I guess, but I don't know. I think Rhea and Beth, maybe they could save it for SummerSlam. Beth has not had a singles match in probably close to 10 years, I think, but I think it would still be cool as an attraction. But if not that, it looks like they are headed in the direction of her and Raquel. That's fine. So those are three opponents right there. I don't really want to see a rematch with Charlotte. They've had enough matches. Rhea would just win again anyway. I mean, you can revisit that. Charlotte's gone away for a while, reportedly, so we won't be seeing her anyway in the near future. You have them. There are more women on SmackDown I am not thinking of. Her and Tegan Nox. I think, would be a great program. Her and Emma, I mean, the Battle of the Australians. I mean, Emma just hasn't meant much since coming back, but her and Tegan Nox, if they built her up, would be very cool. But yes, I do hope that the SmackDown Women's Division, if they build around Rhea going forward, can start to get a bit more interesting. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine and on YouTube, Real Honesty with John Ritland. Check out his content. It's great work. His first question was, so Vince may be back in charge. What are the chances a good amount of talent just say, we're done, and walk out? Very low. I could see a few people saying, fuck this. I mean, some of the people, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't work there, obviously. That's not the part I'm being honest with about. The part I'm going to be completely honest with you with is this. For as much frustration as there probably is backstage right now with morale being at an all-time low, I've seen people say, oh, they should all just walk out. How many times? I mean, the situation right now is pretty bad. With Vince being gone, now back in creative, I mean, that's pretty bad. That's unprecedented, I think. We have been in pretty bad situations before with morale being at its lowest and the creative just being dog shit and the company not having any real positive momentum going. And a lot of those people that are frustrated backstage, they just stay put. They don't say anything. They might leak something to dirt sheets or, cryptically say something, but they don't ask for their release, and they fucking stay put. All the people that quit or left the company when AEW first started that wanted out were not big stars. They just weren't. They were not difference makers. I love FTR, Luke Harper, fucking Sean Spears. I mean, these people aren't going to make a difference. It would take a Randy Orton, a Roman Reigns, a Bianca. I mean, Sasha Banks walked out, sure. But I mean, the women's division moved on. You would need more than just that. Bayley, Charlotte, and Becky would all have to walk out for a message to really be sent. As far as, listen, the top talent are not happy, and something needs to change. Either we're gone or Vince is gone, but that's just not going to happen. They're not going anywhere. So I'm of the mindset now, like, nothing is really going to change. We could see rumors of, like, I'm going to wait until my contract runs out. A lot of the people in the top spots, their pushes probably aren't changing, and therefore they're not going to want to leave. I can't imagine Bianca Belair is going to be so upset that Vince is back that she would walk out. She's been the champion for a year under Vince and Triple H. And if we're of the mindset, Vince had some influence on WrestleMania Night 2 specifically, Bianca won. I mean, maybe Asuka leaves, but again, how much of an impact does that really have? So the idea that there could be this mass walkout and that people could leave, to me, is comical because it's never happened before. It never will happen. There's no union. Would it be nice and refreshing? Sure. But I mean, at the end of the day, their checks are getting signed by Vince McMahon, Triple H, whoever. And they're not going to want to leave that company, especially if they're in a good spot. Why would they want to leave? They might be frustrated for other people, but they're not going to want to jeopardize that themselves. So I don't see there being any sort of mass walkout. Maybe we could see a talent or two leave. Maybe more than a few people. But anyone of real importance, there could be one or two for sure. Could it be 5 or 6 people like Drew, Rollins, and like a Randy Orton leaving? No, I just don't see that happening. His second question, will AEW impact New Japan talents look at this sale and Vince news and decide to just stay away? I mean, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there were a lot of rumors of people in AEW looking to leave when their contracts were up, blah, blah, blah. I could see a lot of those people saying, you know what, I'm probably just better off here. And that sucks because AEW still is in the same spot where they have a lot of people under contract and a lot of people just aren't being used and they're barely on the fucking show. So it would be nice to see a Ricky Starks or a Powerhouse Hobbs. I mean, who was the TNT champion, but like, I don't know, the QT Marshall shit is terrible to me. But anyway, I would love to see those people, like a Wardlow. What the fuck happened to him? I would love to see him go to WWE. He probably would be booked well anyway, under Vince or Triple H, whatever. But maybe now they're reconsidering that. FTR, maybe there was a chance they would go. I mean, apparently they've been locked up for months with AEW, and this is just a storyline. I'm not surprised by that, but I think any inkling of Vince being back kind of scared them away. Maybe they would have gone to WWE. We'll never know. Maybe they'll at some point, Dax will say in his podcast. Who the fuck knows? But anyway, I would be very surprised if any of those talents ended up leaving those companies and went to WWE. Brian Cage, no shit, he stayed in AEW. I mean, why the fuck would he go to WWE at this point if Vince is back in charge? They wouldn't fucking use him. I doubt they'd even put him on NXT. At noob_n_co TV, your thoughts on Roman Reigns beating Cody at WrestleMania. I thought it was the perfect time to split the titles from Roman Reigns, but in typical WWE fashion, Roman Reigns escaped with the titles with help from the Bloodline. I mean, I mentioned this earlier, but I'm not a fan. I just think Cody Rhodes should have beaten Roman Reigns. I really think that was the right result. And we won't know for sure until the moment comes when Roman Reigns loses either to Cody Rhodes or someone else, when that's going to be. I mentioned this a moment ago. I just feel like it should have been on Saturday. And I just don't buy the bullshit from Triple H. We have to finish this story. Let it play out. First of all, this company does not have a great track record with letting it play out. There's a lot of stories that either are unfinished or do not have great endings. And they dropped the ball when they should have struck when the iron was hot, as I mentioned earlier. And people have said, listen, like, obviously, it's Triple H in charge. That was back when Vince was in charge. Well, Vince is apparently back in charge. So that excuse doesn't fly either. But my whole thing is, and I'll go into greater detail about this tomorrow on WrestleRant Radio with RJ, but I just feel that we're so close to Roman Reigns reaching 1,000 days that it doesn't matter that if he reaches 1,000 days or not. That if the argument is, he's got to reach 1,000 days, who gives a shit? He's not breaking a record at that point. The next record he breaks, I believe, might be in January. It could be before then. I'm not 100% sure. I just feel like now would have been the time to have, and it's not even the same championship either. Like the other championships that people, have held for 1,000 days or 4,000 days, those are all from many years ago, and those are all from the WWE Championship. Now, I know it's a world championship, and you can kind of count that, I guess, whatever. But still, I just feel like the 1,000-day argument doesn't really mean much to me. Who gives a shit? The time was right with Cody. If they wait any longer, the time might not be right with Cody. And the argument that, this gives him more character. It makes him feel more like an underdog. Again, you typically have someone lose the first match if they weren't ready at that point. He's been ready. Cody Rhodes is ready. He's over. The story makes sense. The story was him leaving and coming back. That was the fucking story. There's no need to stretch it out. Or as John Alba mentioned on Sunday during the press conference, drag it out. I mean, is that a bit harsh? Possibly. But I feel like that's accurate. There's no real reason to stretch the storyline out if the real resolution could have been over the weekend. I just don't understand that. And like you said, typical WWE fashion, the bloodline interferes, helps Roman win. There was no creativity surrounding that finish. I was fine with that finish when we got it at Clash of the Castle, because at least that was Solo Sikoa's debut. I was perfectly fine with that. Drew got fucked over by Solo, who just arrived in the main roster. I thought that was sick. But we just saw that same finish at Clash 6 months ago. This was no different. I mean, Cody losing clean would have been probably worse, I would assume. But this was still pretty fucking cheap. I was not a fan of that. I was not a fan of Roman Reigns winning. We won't know for sure whether that was the right or wrong decision until the moment of Roman Reigns losing comes, which may not be for another year. It may not be until SummerSlam. We don't know. In a nutshell, in the moment, though, I'm not a fan. I just thought that was really dumb. After all the build-up, how excited people were, when Cody Rhodes does win, it's going to feel more predictable and it won't feel as special, at least in my opinion. Back to John at Reborn Again. Non-wrestling related, are you planning to check out the Super Mario Bros. Movie coming out this week? 110% I am. That's probably the most excited I am for a movie all year. And I've seen the critics score, like, it's at 50 Rotten Tomatoes. I don't really give a shit about that sort of stuff anyway. The Rotten Tomatoes, from a fan perspective anyway, is at like 98. So I don't really care about that sort of shit. But it looks like a really fun movie. I've loved the trailers. I'm a big Mario fan, have been for my entire life, essentially. So I'm looking forward to watching the movie. I know it came out today. Probably won't see it until at least Thursday, or Friday, rather, with some family. So I'm looking forward to watching it. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you don't like it, then to each their own. But personally, it looks like it's right up my alley. At noob_n_code TV, back to them. Their next question was, with Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair winning their respective matches at WrestleMania, do you see them as the main event of WrestleMania 40? I do. Other people have said that, and I think they planted the seeds on purpose on Raw to set up that match for Mania next year. I mean, that could have been the match this year, and I would have been perfectly fine with it. Bianca versus Rhea, with Rhea winning. To me, that's got to be, unless there's another story stronger come that point, which I don't think there should be, hopefully. The women have gotten screwed over twice in the last couple of years. I think it should be Rhea and Bianca in the main event of either Night 1 or Night 2 for either the Raw or SmackDown Women's Championship. Not both. I don't think we need to merge the championships. At Kyle Rochelle 19, their question was, should Becky and Lita drop the titles to Liv and Raquel Rodriguez? Should Becky start a feud with Io Sky this summer? Becky and Io worked really well together in that match on Raw right before Mania last week, so a full-on feud between them would be awesome. Definitely branch Io out on her own. The damage control shit sucks at this point. They're not booked well. They're not a threat. Just blow it up and move on. With Becky and Lita dropping the belts to Liv and Raquel, I mean, I was thinking Becky and Lita would drop them to Ronda and Shayna, which they still could. I completely forgot that Ronda was hurt, which is why she was in that match on Sunday for such a short period of time. I don't know if she can work a full-on match. Like a multi-woman tag match is one thing. I don't know if they would have them work a full-on match with Becky and Lita, and then Ronda's not really in the ring at all. Maybe she'll be good to go by Backlash in early May. I'm not sure. I could see Becky and Lita dropping the belts to Liv and Raquel, maybe with interference from Trish by accident. She turns heel. Maybe that's when we get it. If we're getting Becky and Lita, or rather Becky and Trish at SummerSlam, they might want to drag that out a little bit longer and not have Trish turn on her for a little bit longer. So maybe the turn doesn't come on Monday. I'm not expecting it. And Raquel also teasing a feud with Rhea makes me think that that's the match at Backlash. It's going to be Raquel and Rhea for the championship there in Puerto Rico. So if that's the case, I don't see Raquel going for the championship while she's already won half of the tag team champions. Is that possible? Sure. I don't see it happening, though. I don't think it needs to happen. I think, honestly, Ronda and Shayna is probably the right team to take those titles off of Lita and Becky. I do not see Lita sticking around long term. So, no. I think Becky and Lita win the match next Monday to retain the titles before losing it, likely in Puerto Rico, to Ronda and Shayna, if not in the next pay-per-view after that. Let's see. Next question from at James Storm Brand. The Cowboy himself had a question. He said, who is actually Nelson in a full Nelson? The answer is Nelson Frazier, James. I mean, obviously, it's Viscera. I mean, everyone knows the answer to that. Let's see. Next question from at Himir0287. We got a couple of questions, let's see, from him. Or no, he's got one question, rather. A couple from Billy. But his first one was, is there anyone better than WWE at completely destroying any goodwill they build up with the fans? The reactions to the finishes of the main events on Night 1 and Night 2 were poles apart, and then after not seizing the Cody moment, they dropped that post-Raw Mania episode. WWE is masterful at building goodwill with the fans and then completely destroying it. I mean, they're on complete ends of the spectrum, and in a way, it benefits them in the sense that, you never know if they're going to do the right thing, which they did not on Sunday night, in my opinion. But, especially with Triple H taking over, they built up this goodwill with fans. People were tuning in again. Not that the ratings skyrocketed, but, people were believing in the product a little bit more under Triple H. And then Vince swoops in, and he's apparently taking over again. More creative control than he's had so far, and he completely fucks it up. And now people don't want to watch the product anymore, especially after Raw. If that was any indication of what we can expect under Vince McMahon, people just don't want to watch, and I don't blame them. So, yeah, WWE is just notorious for that, and they continue to be. At BillMeister88, Billy's first question, is it fair to say that the Raw after WrestleMania this year was the worst Raw after Mania ever? Not one call-up, not one surprise. He said, we knew someone would turn on Cody. And as you tweeted, it had Vince all over it. We are doomed. No, actually, if you're literally asking me if it's the worst post-Raw WrestleMania Raw ever, I mean, it was a bad show overall. Was it the worst? No, I thought last year's was better, and people say that was uneventful. I actually liked last year's post-WrestleMania Raw. I was there for that one as well. Was it an extremely exciting show? No, but I thought it was a solid show overall. We just have not had a blow-away post-WrestleMania Raw, and I would say probably 5 years since 2018. I was at the 2019 one too, and some cool stuff happened there, but even that wasn't like an exhilarating show by any means. That was kind of a decent show, but not great. 2018 was probably the last post-WrestleMania Raw I was very excited for, and we got a lot of returns and debuts. We haven't had that in a long time. With the post-WrestleMania Raw this year, the 2021 and 2021 post-WrestleMania Raws were fucking far worse. Those happened in front of no fans, and especially the 2021 in, not the Thunderdome, that was 2021, the 2021 episode in April of 2020 was just fucking awful. Like, I remember Nia Jax coming back to air the finish to Drew and Big Show from WrestleMania. Like, I remember thinking, wow, this is just terrible. Not only is the show bad, but this is literally, it has no fans. It was terrible. So yeah, that would probably be worse. But what we got on Monday with fans might have been the worst post-WrestleMania Raw that we've had with fans in probably 15 years, at least, if not more. His next question, with Cody not winning, do you think WWE now goes down the Rollins beating Roman? Now they go down that route, I guess he's saying. The Rollins beating Roman route, as he's the only man Roman hasn't defeated. Or could it be Gunther with Imperium versus Bloodline? Or do you think it's the long-term game now for Cody being the guy? It's probably Cody. I would still go with Cody. Gunther would be cool. I don't see him turning babyface, though. Gunther just doesn't feel like the guy to beat Roman to me, but I mean, I guess it's possible. Rollins, I just don't think Rollins needs to beat Roman. Like, that's a great story. And the whole fucking point of the Rollins and Roman storyline from when they went into the Rumble, and they didn't finish the story, typical for WWE, was that Roman has never beaten Rollins whenever it has mattered most on pay-per-view. Rollins beat him back in Money in the Bank 2016. He beat him at Royal Rumble last year. He's never pinned Roman Reigns on pay-per-view, ever. At least not one-on-one. So, that's the story, and Roman would have to beat Rollins to finish that story. Rollins beating Roman doesn't really accomplish that. I want Rollins as champion again. He is amazing, but I just don't really think he benefits from beating Roman. I think whoever beats Roman should be a made guy, turn into a made guy and really benefit. Rollins wouldn't really benefit. He's already a made guy. which is why I think you could say the same for Cody, but Cody's never been world champion in a top promotion. Like, yeah, Ring of Honor, cool, but I'm talking like WWE or AEW or whatever. He's not a made guy until he beats Roman, so I think they should stick with Cody Rhodes, in my opinion, although it won't mean as much as it would have at WrestleMania, at least again, in my opinion. His next question, how much of a disgrace was it to not have LA Knight at WrestleMania in LA? I'm still fuming over it when we had a 53-year-old man blow his quad when LA Knight could have had that spot. Kudos to Snoop for his improv. No, I agree with all of that. The fact that LA Knight, after weeks of having him go out there and say, you can't have a WrestleMania in LA without LA Knight, why even have him on the fucking show? I mean, honestly, why even have him out there saying that shit if you weren't going to have him on WrestleMania in any capacity? That makes zero sense. That was very dumb. That was terrible. That, to me, was probably one of the worst parts of Night 2. If it wasn't for Roman beating Cody. But that was just awful. I don't give a shit about Shane. Keep him far away. He's not been gone long enough. That was embarrassing. I hope he's okay, but that shit was just stupid. LA Knight should have been in that spot. Bar none. At Lex the Giacomo, my camera person throughout WrestleMania weekend, the amazing Alexis. But her question was, if you could have any song as your entrance theme, what would it be? She's asked me this before. I honestly don't really have a definitive answer. I've always said Cult of Personality, but that's already taken by a certain someone. Assuming he comes back to wrestling at some point, just because I love this song. Beyond that, I mean, I really don't have a favorite song that I would use as an entrance theme. Cult of Personality, just because I love the fucking song, would probably be it. But if not that, I don't know. It would probably just be that. The credits song that was, I mean, this is such an off the cuff answer that I just heard the other day. The end credits song, I think it's called Eye for an Eye from the recent John Wick 4 movie, was excellent, and I can't get it out of my head, so I would probably go that as a popular answer in the moment, but I think it's always been Cult of Personality. And I think, we got one more question, a two-part question, not really, but it's from Nick D. Bamash. I apologize if I mispronounce your name, but his question was, in light of the Rick Steiner controversy from last week, which was fucking disgusting, by the way, the whole Giselle Shaw thing from WrestleCon, just fucking awful. That even had to happen. And I'm glad he's banned from WrestleCon, by the way. That's just terrible, the whole situation. But anyway, he said, in light of that whole thing, do you think this hurts Braun Breaker's push and, in turn, delays his call-up to the main roster? It seems like last Saturday's Stand and Deliver could have been his send-off, but he's likely staying in NXT for now. Adding a bit more, Breaker turned heel in last night's NXT, and the delay might, oddly enough, be a blessing in disguise for him. He's talented, but I don't think the audience fully accepted him as a babyface. It's hard when he's that young, a second-generation talent, etc. No, honestly, I don't think that has any bearing on Breaker at all. I mean, obviously, that's his father, and his father should be fucking ashamed, obviously, among many other things. But that has nothing to do with Breaker. Unless it comes out that Breaker feels the same way and other shit like that, then yes, obviously, he should be, fired and whatever. But to my knowledge, Breaker does not follow that same mindset. He has not acted out in that same way, which is good, obviously. I don't think this has any bearing on his push. He was going to lose the championship to Carmelo anyway. And I don't see that. Maybe this has been mentioned somewhere else, but I haven't seen NXT yet. I know that they did the double turn. I haven't seen anyone else really talk about this aspect of it yet. They're going to be in lull for the next show, for that Battleground show or whatever it's fucking called, in Massachusetts. That's where Carmelo is from. So they knew he would be cheered there. It only makes sense to put him up again and to kind of cement his babyface turn. Put him in there with someone the fans already don't like in Breaker. This Breaker heel turn really gives him new life. He hasn't done shit in a while, like as far as a babyface. I like Breaker a lot. He was over, but he was starting to get booed. They might as well organically go in that direction. You get into their match out of Breaker and Hayes. They have an even better match, hopefully, at that next show. Maybe they give the belt back to Breaker and they do a third match and Carmelo wins it back there. I don't know. But Breaker is main roster bound soon. This gives him a bit more time in NXT. I don't mind that at all. I don't think the Rick Steiner stuff had anything to do with that. I feel like that was the plan the entire time because they were already acknowledging the boos for Breaker even before Stand and Deliver. So, no, I don't think one has to do with the other, but I do think what they're doing is honestly really smart. You get one more match out of him, you extend the feud, get a better match, hopefully. I haven't seen the show yet, but hopefully I'll catch up at some point. And that's that, so we'll see. But, yeah, I like the direction they're going in with the NXT Championship, though. I like that a lot. And that's going to do it, guys, for episode 488. I have a hashtag AskGSM here today for Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. We will be back next week with another new episode. I don't know if this is, again, going up on Wednesday night, tonight, or tomorrow night. I'm not sure, on Thursday. The whole video schedule is out of whack right now. I'm completely out of whack with articles and reviews and podcasts and videos, and everything will be up at some point. It may take a long time, but everything will be up eventually. So just stay tuned, stay subscribed, hit the bell button to be notified every time a new video goes up. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So yeah, that's about it, guys. Have an awesome one. I got to catch up on a million things, so I'll be back to normal in about a month. Till then, have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.